Chapter 21:19, Kill the Wulwan Clan. You mean you can guarantee that we will win this battle 100%? A battle that will destroy a whole kingdom? At this moment, even Li Guangxiao, the commander of the East Sea region who was eager to fight and wash away the shame, sounded a little uncertain. He felt that Zhang Yi's words were a bit too bold, even if he wanted to persuade the major regions to send troops. Zhang Yi raised his head and met everyone's expectant, nervous, and questioning gazes with a smile. Theoretically speaking, without your help, I can take on the entire Wulwan Empire by myself. But if I do that, even if I win, I will suffer heavy losses. Moreover, our insufficient military strength may allow some of the Wulwan Empire's soldiers to escape, leaving behind a dangerous seed. I have always disliked leaving behind any potential problems. Therefore, if we are to destroy the entire Wulwan Empire, we must destroy the entire empire. Not even a single cat or dog can be left behind. With you guys, our chances of victory are not 100%, but 200%, or even 300%. I don't want a miserable victory, I want a complete victory. We must fight with the spirit of the Huashu Kingdom and intimidate all other forces with a complete victory. Since the meeting began, the expressions on the faces of the other high-ranking officials from the various regions were as if they were dreaming. They really wondered if they were still asleep, otherwise how could they hear such ridiculous nonsense? Zhang Yi meant that he alone could fight against the entire Wulwan Empire. Doesn't that mean that the power he wields alone exceeds that of all the major regions combined? Some people wanted to laugh, but didn't dare to, because what if it was true? Gulp. Hu Mengfang swallowed a mouthful of saliva and whispered something in Han Shanzuo's ear. Han Shanzuo then asked Zhang Yi, "Hey, Chaos, what you're saying is pretty scary. But this sounds pretty far-fetched to us. Can you give us some details so we can understand why you're so confident? That way, we'll all have a better idea after listening to you." Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. "Sure. When the war starts, you'll see for yourselves. I'll tell you without hesitation. In the Battle of Fremons, we destroyed an ancient technological civilization. I have more than 100,000 mechanical life forms at my disposal. And now, I have the ability to repair them and put them to use on the battlefield. You should know how powerful those mechanical life forms are, right?" Before Zhang Yi could finish, he revealed his trump card in one breath. "What's more, my combat ability has now reached the Black Bishop level. We're all on the same side, so I won't keep it from you. The reason why the Wulwan Empire attacked us is because I destroyed one of their Black Bishops and 6 silver armor generals of the Black Chariot level in the Demon's Eye. Even that is only part of my trump card. The rest will remain a secret for now, but it's definitely more than what I've told you." He spread his hands. "So now, do you think I have the qualifications to say this?" The sound of cold air being sucked in and smacking lips filled the room again. It was only at this moment that the high-ranking officials of the 6 major regions finally realized that Zhang Yi's team was already on a completely different level from them. Through repeatedly risking his life and participating in wars against ancient civilizations, Zhang Yi had gained enormous resources. Those ancient civilizations had accumulated wealth over countless years, and just a fraction of it was enough to accelerate the development of a major power. In the long and costly war in Fremons, Zhang Yi made a fortune thanks to the advantages of his space ability. Ho Tu and the others were now filled with regret. At the time, they had been afraid of encountering danger, so they had hesitated and not gone to participate in the war. Now, they could only watch as others reaped the benefits. The mechanical life forms that Zhang Yi had given to the 6 major regions were only a fraction of what he had in his hands. You're really awesome." Han Shanzuo couldn't hold back any longer and could only give him a thumbs up and say this. In the northwest region, Xiao Liu's eyes were burning as he looked at Zhang Yi. With his abilities, if he could strengthen these combat-type mechanical life forms, he would have a terrifying mechanical army. If that's the case, then we can definitely fight. In my opinion, the strength of that mechanical civilization is no weaker than the Wulwan Empire. But, Meng Yuanjun asked doubtfully, to start such a huge army, wouldn't you need a massive amount of energy? He. Zhang Yi smiled slightly and said meaningfully, "That's why I came to find you all." At this moment, everyone finally understood. Even Zhang Yi couldn't afford such a huge war expenditure. His main purpose in calling everyone together was to share the military expenses. Everyone's eyes cleared, and they understood why Zhang Yi had been so secretive. So everyone returned to discussing business. "How many resources do you need us to provide?" Meng Yuanjun asked. Zhang Yi said, "I will provide the main military force, and I will also bear the losses of the mechanical life forms. But when it comes to energy, you guys have to contribute the lion's share. Furthermore, I need all of the major regions to hand over 80% of the nuclear resources in their possession to me. This is a necessary measure to deal with the Wulwan Empire. In addition, you also have to dispatch military forces. Each region must send at least Epsilon-level mutants, as well as elite warriors." Han Shanzhua asked in surprise, "Since you already have an army of mechanical life forms, why do you need human warriors?" Zhang Yi smiled and said, "Of course, because there are some things that mechanical life forms cannot do. Those metal things have major flaws. Once they fall into the hands of the enemy, they are easy to destroy. Moreover, it is difficult to assign them to carry out detailed tasks. I've said it before, my goal is not to defeat the Wulwan Empire. It is to completely wipe out this race. Block all escape routes, kill all the lizard people, and let this race that is so hostile to our Huashu kingdom disappear from the face of the planet." Zhang Yi banged on the table with force, his tone cold and full of murderous intent. This made the others subconsciously swallow their saliva. In the future, they would never dare to provoke chaos. This guy was too scary. Everyone came to this consensus in their hearts. Next, everyone discussed the specific materials that needed to be provided, and Yang Xinxin took the stage. She was more familiar with matters related to data. Due to the military support provided by Zhang Yi, the responsibilities of each region were relatively small, which made them all very satisfied, so there wasn't much to discuss. However, Ho Tu, who had been silent all along, raised a question. "You have made thorough preparations for the war. But I want to know how you plan to deal with the Hades gatekeepers." Chapter 21-20, The Battle to Destroy a Nation begins. The conversation was abruptly cut off. Yes, no matter how meticulous their plans were, if they couldn't kill the Hades gatekeeper, they still couldn't win this battle. After the Age of Great Change, mutants gradually became a transcendent existence. Lower-level mutants could still be killed with firearms, but once they reached the Epsilon level, they became increasingly difficult to deal with. Take Zhang Yi, for example. Not to mention those at the level of the Hades gatekeeper. Zhang Yi smiled and narrowed his eyes, crossed his arms on the table, and stared at Ho Tu. "I have a way to hurt him. Then you can curse him to death. How about it?" The ability index of the Hades gatekeeper was over 50,000 points. The higher the level, the more obvious the difference in ability index. A mutant with 50,000 points can easily kill a mutant with 40,000 points in seconds. Only someone like Zhang Yi, who can foresee the future and has powerful escape abilities, can survive at their hands. As for fighting back, Ho Tu didn't know what Zhang Yi was planning to do. But since Zhang Yi seemed so confident, why not give it a try? "Okay, I agree." Ho Tua's words meant that she was going to participate in the battle directly. People like her and Li Changgong were special ability users who could achieve great things with little effort. Therefore, she was also an important part of Zhang Yi's plan. Using Ling to deal with the Hades gatekeepers would be difficult. However, with the help of this glitch, he only needed to obtain the blood of the Hades gatekeepers, which greatly reduced the difficulty. "So, when do we start the war? And what is the overall battle plan?" Xiao Liu didn't say much, but the questions he asked were crucial. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes slightly. "First, prepare everything I need. Then gather your troops. As for the specific time of the battle, we'll have to see how my preparations are going." He needed to make thorough preparations to ensure that everything went according to plan. The major regions did not raise any objections to this proposal. After all, Zhang Yi's conditions were already very generous. He did not ask them to mobilize all their troops. He only asked them to send an elite team of mutants and provide weapons and resources. No matter how you looked at it, this deal was very profitable. Alright, it's settled. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll come and get the items myself. As for the troops, have them gather in Blizzard City. Before the official battle, they need to undergo joint combat training. Especially for the mutants, it is very important to train them to work together. I have information about the mutants of the Wulwan Empire, so we need to develop a targeted battle plan. The information obtained by Yang Xinxin would allow them to seize the initiative. Meng Yuanjun stroked his chin and raised another very pointed question. After the war is over, how will we divide the resources of the Wulwan Empire? At first, he didn't dare to think about going to war with the Wulwan Empire, but now he was already thinking about how to divide the spoils. Zhang Yi knew that if this issue was not resolved properly, it would surely sow the seeds of future wars. He held up 2 fingers. 2/3 for me, and the remaining 1/3 for you to divide among yourselves. This distribution method was already Zhang Yi giving up some of his gains. After all, the major regions of the Huashu Kingdom were indeed unevenly developed, with the northwest region and northeast region being particularly weak. He was only asking for 80%, which was already taking care of his allies. The other regions started to say something again, wanting to fight for more benefits, but Zhang Yi just smiled and shook his head. If anyone is willing to trade with me, take on the main task of breaking through the defenses, and face the Hades gatekeeper head-on, I don't mind giving them all my resources. I won't take a penny. Everyone was speechless for a moment, but upon further consideration, if they could really take down a powerful ancient civilization, even with only 20% of the resources, it would be an unimaginable gain. Next, the other regions discussed the division of benefits among themselves. However, during this process, a small incident occurred. Zhang Yi's so-called division of resources completely separated his team from the 6 major regions, no longer forming a whole with the Jiangnan region. Zhu Jing only wanted to fight for his own interests, but without Zhang Yi's team, the Jiangnan region's armed forces would no longer be competitive. Zhang Yi was very surprised that he did not see the familiar face of the young girl. If Zhu Yu joins the battle, her abilities should be very useful, Zhang Yi thought to himself. Zhu Yu's abilities were even greater than Yuan Kongyue's because she had received systematic training and Zhu Jing had poured all of the region's resources into her cultivation, allowing her abilities to be fully realized. Now, she possessed dozens of supernatural abilities. The current Zhu Yu was an all-rounder with almost no weaknesses, capable of dealing with mutants of any attribute. I really want to see how much she has grown now. Zhang Yi thought to himself. However, judging from the situation in the Jiangnan region, she would only be able to reach the level of the Black Chariot at most. This was because resources were indeed limited. The major regions, including the National Protectorate Army, had a heated debate, but it was nothing more than a discussion on how to divide the specific benefits. The final decision was to divide the benefits according to the ratio of the number of troops deployed and the amount of resources. This was the only way everyone could reach a consensus. After several hours of discussion, the meeting ended successfully. Zhang Yi's strength had shocked them too much, and he had shouldered the main burden of combat, so of course they had no objections. Even if they did, they could only endure it. Who could blame them when they were so dependent on Zhang Yi now? Zhang Yi closed the chat room. It was like he had fought a big battle. Arguing with these people was really a waste of energy. Fortunately, the entire Huashu Kingdom was now united and willing to wage war against the Wulwan Empire. Zhang Yi had finally achieved his goal. Next, all we have to do is wait and be patient. Zhang Yi turned his head to look at Yang Xinxin's delicate face and said with a smile. Wait for the integration of resources and manpower. Wait for Liu Karen to prepare the Mechanical Legion, wait for the super warship to be repaired and ready for battle, and most importantly, wait for Ling to restart. This would take time. This was the first time in his life that Zhang Yi had organized such a large-scale battle, and it made him understand the difficulties of being a leader. As for what they needed to be patient about, It was that during this period, no matter what happened outside, as long as they weren't attacked in Blizzard City, they couldn't act impulsively, let alone reveal their trump cards. The whole world was watching the movements of the Huashu Kingdom, and even the Vatican, which envied Zhang Yi for obtaining Ling's human body, didn't dare to make any unnecessary moves.